they fiercely assail. In every speech it's the villain they unveil. From racism, patriarchy they rail. Ain't known, ain't nothing, equity they prevail. Ushering in their Marxist utopias the end game. The turmoil and strife they aim to overthrow the old, establish their claim. In the vision they abolish everything. They need capitalism for the pain of clever life. These are the photos of the world. Embedded in actions, words they invoke. From pushing equality to Marxist dreams. In the dance of power, scheme and steam. In every move, search and the gleams. Remember, nothing's ever as it seems. So, it's gain power, stabilize, make capitalism enter the Marxist utopia. That's what they want, that's what they want. Abolish capitalism. These are the portals of the world. Embedded in actions, words they invoke. From pushing equality to Marxist dreams. In the dance of power, scheme and scheme. In every move, search and the gleams. Remember, nothing's ever as it seems. So, it's true as surrounded by despair, breathing in intoxicated air. Is this the end? Is this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the utopia. There's no place to hide.
You know, I'm never late. I'm never late. You guys are just early. Okay. Listen, I actually have an excuse today for being late. I had technical difficulties. The browser was not picking up my streaming software. I had to restart my computer twice, but I made it. We made it. We're all here. All right. And it's a good thing too, because we've got some real communists to watch today, not the pretend communists that the conservatives call the Democratic Party. We are watching some real live communists today. We are going to be watching an update from our friends. We even have one here. Yep. We are watching an update from our friends. In the Revolutionary Communists of America. They uploaded this a couple weeks ago to their YouTube channel, and it's probably about time we get around to watching it because we had to cover the DNC all last week. We didn't have time for it. Anyway, and it looks like it's from our friend John, and John was actually on the channel. Do you guys remember when we interviewed John and that other nice gentleman about what they believe and them being communists and all that stuff? And they were, you're there too? Will you point yourself out to us? That would be very exciting. Anyway, they released this video, and this looks like it was from like their first Congress or whatever. Their formation conference, where basically, you guys remember like a couple weeks ago when all the conservatives on Twitter were freaking out and they were like, communists are marching in Philadelphia. And of course, we already knew this was happening, and we were like, no shit, Sherlock. Where the fuck have you guys been? Because of course I, per usual, have been the only person talking about the Revolutionary Communists of America with any great depth. The conservatives don't even know who this group is. James Lindsay thought this was the Revcoms. The Revcoms are a completely different group. And the conservatives are just like, they're communists in America. And we're like, no shit, bro. We've been trying to show you these communists for a while. Yes, even Vivek follows me. I know Vivek knows about my work. I've actually talked to Vivek in person about he follows me on Twitter. Vivek didn't know about this group when he was talking to them in Seattle. This is the group, if you saw those videos that Vivek posted with the protesters, it was the Revolutionary Communists of America. And it was actually, and I love Vivek. I love him. I think he's awesome. And I'm not trying to throw shade because I genuinely think that Vivek is like the future and he's awesome and I love him. But it was a little cringe for me to watch him interact with the Revolutionary Communists of America because he was speaking to them as though he had no idea what they believed. And I was like, he was speaking to them as though they were progressive Democrats. And I wanted to like reach through the screen and be like, Vivek, they're fucking communists. But no. To be in the Republican Party, you have to treat Democrats as though they're the real communists, and you have to pretend the real communists are Democrats. And it's like, man. On the Freedom News YouTube channel, the interview is slightly longer than the one that's making the rounds on Twitter. Well, what did you think about that? So you're actually a member of the Revolutionary Communists of America. What did you think about? I mean, I thought it was good that Vivek went to talk to them. I think that that's good, but I just wish that he understood who they were. And it's just like, I don't understand how this stuff can generate literally millions of views from conservatives on Twitter, and they're all screaming, oh my God, there are communists marching in Philadelphia, and they're like, it's the worst thing in the world, and they're going to make a big fuss about it for about a day and a half, and then no one talks about them again, and no one actually listens to them, and no one actually looks into them. It's just all about that initial kind of like outrage for the one video clip on Twitter, and then no one goes a step further than that. They didn't even know who the name of the group. I thought our comrade did a good job quickly getting the ideas out. It was nerve-wracking with a camera and a dozen of them shoved in our face. Yeah, I mean, well, one thing you got to say about the Revolutionary Communists of America is they are actually very good at just getting their talking points out, no matter what questions they're being asked. I know that from experience. When you guys came on my channel and you kind of ignored the questions I was asking you and you just went to your talking points, I was like, I know exactly what you're doing, bro, but like, whatever. You're telling us what you think, and that's the whole point of this. Anyway, a couple weeks ago, the Revolutionary Communists of America released, but that fucking liberal started talking across our comrade to, oh, well, I didn't see that, but maybe we can look into that another time. So this is a video the Revolutionary Communists of America released on their YouTube channel a couple weeks ago. John Peterson gives us an overview of the political conditions in the US and the perspective and tasks of communists. So remember, guys, this is a revolutionary communist group that is growing very, very quickly. They're very organized. They have a presence in over 30 US cities. They are very politically active. This was the group that was marching in Philadelphia. So we're going to hear about their take and what they believe as communists they need to do in America to advance their cause. And remember, they hate the Democrats. These are not Democrats. These people hate Democrats. These people are not going to be voting for Kamala Harris. These people were the ones protesting and recruiting outside the DNC in Chicago. And so they're the ones that when you see the Karl Marx sticker where Karl Marx is pointing at you and saying, "Are you a communist?" That's them. They're recruiting in unions. They're recruiting in workplaces. These people recruit all the fucking time. They are not funded by George Soros. They are completely self-funded through dues, donations, event ticket sales. They also sell like books and stuff. And so this is not like, don't come in here fucking screaming at me, "They're Soros funding me," because they're not. They're not. It actually says specifically in the chart when their group was chartered, they're not going to take money like that because it disrupts their pure political fucking mission. Anyway. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Now, a couple announcements before we get started. Number one, Socialism Weekend is coming up. Who's ready for Socialism Weekend? I'm going to be doing a formal announcement about this on the Substack. I was going to do it earlier, and then quite frankly, I went and took a nap. I'm sorry. I had my priorities. I went and took a nap, so I didn't get the announcement out earlier. I slept a little bit longer than I thought, but I'm going to be better now. You guys are going to thank me for taking that nap because I was tired. I'll tell you what. Anyway, after this stream, I'll be posting a formal announcement on the Substack. And it is Socialism Weekend. And I will not be going undercover at the Socialism Conference in Chicago, even though I may know people who are. But luckily for us, the Socialism Conference will be streaming many of their sessions. And so we're going to partake. We're going to watch as much socialism as possible. It's going to get started around 8:30 on Friday evening when they have their opening keynote. And then we're going to go all day Saturday and we're going to go all day Sunday. It's going to be just like you guys were undercover with me at the conference, except we don't have to wear a disguise and we don't have to worry about getting caught. And we do get to take breaks and stuff like that. And we get to talk and make fun of them. It's going to be great. So let me show you the schedule for the Socialism Conference. We've got on Friday evening, this is going to be their opening keynote. It's going to be a lot of talks about Palestine, all eyes on Palestine, solidarity, liberation, intifada. Linda Sarsour is going to be one of the people that's keynoting. Bro, that's just retarded. Please don't put retarded things in my chat. Please don't. It's way too early. It is way too fucking early in this stream to already descend into the land of retardia. If you don't have something smart to say, please just zip it for now, okay? Let me do my preamble. God. So then on Sunday, we're going to be getting started early, or excuse me, Saturday. I'm going to have to get up early. I'm not looking for it. Like the sacrifices I make for you guys. I'm going to get out of bed before 11 o'clock so I can start streaming by 11 o'clock because all these are in Central Time. God damn. That's how committed I am to this process. We're going to be starting on Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We are going to be watching, we're probably going to be watching the genocidal returns of lesser evilism, the U.S. elections, and strategy with Tempest. That is the Tempest Collective. We've talked about the Tempest Collective. The Tempest Collective is a radical revolutionary socialist collective. They are a rather large radical revolutionary socialist collective. They don't actually believe they're going to achieve their aims through political means, but they're giving a presentation about that. Then we're going to go right into, and there are going to be breaks throughout this, guys. So it's not just going to be the whole time, but I'll be streaming the whole time, but there'll be breaks in between. At 1 p.m., or that'll be 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to go into dismantling imperial feminism with NYC for abortion rights. That's going to be a reproductive justice session. So that's going to be fun. At 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we're going to do Capitalism and Abolition with Ruth Wilson Gilmore. Ruth Wilson Gilmore is one of their patron saints. At 8 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be doing, let's see, which one are we going to do? Probably this Audre Lorde one, The Eternal Life of Audre Lorde, because Audre Lorde is a, bro, I told you to shut the fuck up. If you don't shut the fuck up, I'm going to ban you. Stop saying stupid shit in my chat. God damn it. I swear to God. I swear to God. In fact, you're getting put in a timeout. I'm going to force you to shut up so I can actually do my preamble. See, people who are new to my stream, they aren't used to not being able to shit post and say whatever crazy things come to their mind. We don't allow that shit here, guys. If you're new here, and I'm sorry if you don't like it, you don't have to be here. You can go somewhere else. But we don't allow random shit posting and random conspiracy theories and random bullshit because it confuses everyone. It is distracting from what we're doing, and I don't like it. I actually interact with my chat, and if I have a chat full of random retards posting whatever nonsense comes to their mind on any given moment, I can't actually focus and do what I want to do. So no, we don't allow that. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. Anyway, the conference will continue into Sunday, where again, I will be getting up early. 11 a.m., we will be watching this Unbuild Walls, Borders, Prison, and Abolition. And that's going to be because socialists don't believe that borders should exist. Then we've got at 1 p.m. Which one are we going to do? We're going to do the political economy of COVID with Jules Gill Peterson, because Jules Gill Peterson is an insane person. And I want to see what Jules Gill Peterson has to say. Also, yes, socialists still do believe that COVID is a real thing. At 3 or 4 p.m. Eastern time, we're probably going to do Lenin and the Politics of Rehearsal again with Ruth Wilson Gilmore. And then no, that's not even the last one. 6 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, we're going to be doing probably this one, Dare to Win, Building on the Mass Protest Decade. And then we are not going to be doing this last one, because then we're going to go do movie night. Because after all that, we have a regular movie night on Sunday at 8 p.m. in my supporter Discord. And after all that, I think that we deserve to have a movie night, because we'll be watching A Clockwork Orange in my supporter Discord on Sunday at 8 p.m. I'm even hosting it. So we're going to skip that last presentation. We can catch up on presentations that we missed another time, because these will be available on demand. So if we really want to go back and watch it, we can. But I think that's more than enough socialism for our socialism weekend. Who is excited to watch socialism with me all weekend long? It's going to be great. We're probably going to go insane. I might consume even more beer than I did during the DNC, although I don't even know. The DNC was rather painful for me to watch. The DNC was actually worse for me to watch than socialism, if I'm honest. But I'm going to be excited that I don't have to go to Chicago, that I don't have to wear a chest binder as a disguise, that I don't have to be afraid of getting caught. I'm going to be excited to kind of like kick back this year in the comfort of my office and just watch it on the internet. And then the people who are going to the socialism conference, and yes, I do know people who are going to the socialism, they can report back to me and they can let me know what happens. And hopefully they get some good stuff. But that's what we're going to be doing this weekend, guys. I hope everyone is ready for our socialism weekend. Of course, please make sure you are subscribed to my Substack to keep up to date on what is going on there. Again, I will be posting an official announcement on my Substack. That is Carlin, KARLIN.substack.com. Let me pop that in the chat. It should already be in the chat somewhere, or at least in the description. There you go. There you go. I don't know if anyone is actually watching on Kick. We are streaming on Kick now. Bo Peep over on Kick says he don't know how to speak commie. That's right, Bo Peep, but we're gonna teach him, aren't we? We are going to teach him. So guys, please make sure you are subscribed to the Substack. And I'm also going to be doing a membership drive for the Substack this weekend during Socialism Weekend. I would love to get like 100 new paying members in Substack. It's been a while since I've done a membership drive. Of course, all of my work is funded via Substack. And I don't like to ask too harshly, but the thing is, if people don't fund my work, I can't do it. If people don't fund my work to be able to pay for my time that I spend researching this stuff, writing this stuff, streaming this stuff, sharing it out with you guys, then it's just not going to get done. And you guys know as well as I do that no one else on the internet is doing the stuff that I'm doing. I wish there were more people doing it, but this is what we've come to. And so I really would like to do a big kickoff membership drive this weekend. I'd love to get 100 new paying supporters in the Substack. That's going to be $8 a month, $80 a year. You guys make all this possible. This does not happen without you. I cannot do this because I can't go to political organizations and say, can you fund my work? Because then those political organizations are going to come back to me and they're going to be like, yeah, we'll fund your work as long as we can tell you what you can and cannot say. And I'm going to be like, that just doesn't fucking work for me, bro. Because my only job is to report back to you, to show you receipts, to tell you the truth, to break it down in plain English so that you guys understand it. So please consider signing up for a membership. I will consider every membership that comes in this week part of that membership drive so you can get an early start. If you've been waiting to sign up for the Substack for some reason, I don't know why you would be waiting. There's a lot of cool shit on my Substack. But if you've been waiting, now's going to be a great time to do it. And you guys make it possible to do what I'm doing And I appreciate you allowing me to continue to do it. Another way you can fund my work is by heading over to the Unwoke Art store, which is unwokeart.com, where you can get lots of this sweet swag. Now, someone did show me earlier today, you can get the new designs that I put in the store on mugs and pint glasses. And I got to tell you, someone got one of these whiteness means capital in the red. They got the red version of it. They got this whiteness means capitalism mug, and I saw it on our Zoom earlier, and it looks awesome. It looks so good, and I'm really happy with the quality of it. So that's an exciting thing. And then they also got this pint glass, the Socialists Always Lie pint glass. The printing came out on that. Yeah, bot saw too. The mug looked awesome. The pint glass. Yes, when you sign up for the Substack, you do get a perpetual 10% off discount in the Unwoke Art store. That's a good mention, Reagan. I forgot about that. They also got this Socialism skull one. That looked awesome. So lots of cool stuff in the Unwoke Art store, including the shirt that I'm wearing right now. One of the classics, one of the iconic shirts. A shirt that, fun fact, okay, Juan just got his ass banned. Juan, I told you not to say stupid shit in my chat, bro. I told you not to say stupid shit in my chat, and now you're not going to be here anymore. Goodbye. Fun fact, did you guys know that Logan Lansing ripped off this design recently? I thought it was hilarious. Logan Lansing posted something on Twitter, Karl Marx sitting on a chair on a mountain of skulls with a sun in the background. And I didn't even, someone pointed this out to me. They actually tagged me in it, and they were like, you ripped off Carlin's design. I was like, holy shit, Logan Lansing did rip off my design. Isn't that funny? Logan Lansing lately has also been talking a lot about private property. He's been saying the word capitalism. Logan Lansing took pride in not saying the word capitalism before we started haranguing him and James endlessly on Twitter and trolling their stuff and pointing out what fucking shills they all are and how little they know. And all of a sudden, Logan Lansing saying capitalism. He's talking about private property. He's ripping off my Karl Marx designs. I don't even know what to say, but if you want the original one, you can head over to the Unwoke Art store. Just search for the Real Marxism shirt. It comes in other things too, like hoodies and things like that. And it looks cool. It's one of my favorite things to wear. I love wearing this shirt through Whole Foods. Anytime I go to Whole Foods, I wear something with this design on it. I have a couple things with this design on it. And it's so great because people in Whole Foods, because they're like bougie socialists, they get all excited when they see Marxism. And then they come over and they see that it's Marx standing on a mountain of skulls and their face just drops. And they're like, and they get all upset. And it's funny. So those are the types of things you can do with that merch, guys. Also, as a reminder, I am now streaming a kind of Rumble exclusive show called Something Controversial. I think that we will be doing another episode of Something Controversial later tonight after Nick Fuentes' show, as long as he doesn't go too late. So everyone cross their fingers that Nick Fuentes starts on time tonight, because if he starts on time, we can actually watch a full episode and finish the movie we've been watching. We've been watching The Greatest Story Never Told over on Rumble. I'd love to make it through the rest of that tonight. So hopefully Nick doesn't go into the wee hours of the morning. And so hopefully we can watch that on Rumble. Make sure you are following me on Rumble, or you can follow me on Kick. On Kick, I'm kick.com/CarlinB. And if you have a Kick account, go subscribe, go follow, whatever they call it on Kick. I'm trying to get 75 followers so I can turn on monetization on Kick. So you can follow me on there as well. Anyway, that's all I got. Guys, please make sure you have mounted the like button for me. Please make sure you are following the channel. I don't know why is the view count low today? Huh. That's interesting. Can everyone go make sure they're sharing the stream out? That would really be helpful, because for some reason YouTube is hiding my channel today. It's so funny. You can always tell when YouTube is hiding things because it's like the numbers are just completely off from what they normally are. Whatever. Hopefully people will make it over. But in the meantime, we're going to start watching this presentation and we're going to start talking about it. Yeah, you don't think yep, no notification. Yeah, it's one of those types of days, isn't it? One of those types of days. One of those types of days. One of those types of days. Oh, let me get my super chat goal. There we go. If you guys want to send in super chats, that does also help fund the work I'm doing. All right, let's dig in. Let's see what's what.
Welcome back. 2 weeks ago, we had our founding Congress of the Revolutionary Communists of America. Over the next few weeks on the podcast, we'll be going over exactly what we talked about at this Congress, the political perspectives and tasks of communists in the United States. And there's no better place to start than a general outlook on the political situation in the United States. Not only is this the country that we organize in, but it is the center of world imperialism. So without further ado, this is John Peterson.
The United
on
States is the
US
center of world
perspectives.
imperialism.
All right, comrades, can you hear me? Okay, so I got a quick question for you all. How many of you are here because you are confident that capitalism can give you, your loved ones, and everyone you know a beautiful, happy quality of life from here until eternity?
I am. I think it can. I think it can.
Rough crowd. Anyway, as you've all noticed, capitalism is at an impasse. But luckily for us, the whole purpose of this weekend is to prepare for the third American Revolution. Are you ready to prepare for that, comrades?
Third American Revolution. Pop quiz for the chat. When they say they're preparing for the third American Revolution, what does that mean? Does anyone have any ideas? What does the third American Revolution mean? That they want to overthrow capitalism and bring in communism. What else? The third American Revolution is the overthrow of the American government. That's correct. That is the answer that I was looking for. When they say the third revolution, what they mean is they want to overthrow the United States government. They want to abolish the Constitution. They want to abolish the Electoral College. They want to abolish the Supreme Court. They want to abolish the United States Senate. I think they're kind of okay with some conception resembling a House of Representatives, but it wouldn't be the same thing. They want to raise the red flag of communism above the White House. That's what they mean when they say the third American Revolution. And that's not going to come from political means. I hope everyone understands that. That is not going to come from political means. They're not going to vote their way into this. They're just going to overthrow it.
All right. Now, it's not going to happen next week. Probably not going to happen next year even. May not even happen for another decade. But I am absolutely convinced that we will see another social revolution in this country in our lifetimes. So there can be no routinism in this discussion. This discussion, along with the world perspectives discussion, is going to set the tone not just for the rest of this Congress, but for everything we do for the foreseeable future. Clear political analysis is the basis for everything that we do. And the only conclusion that Marxists can draw, if you look around the world and analyze things, is that revolution is humanity's only way out. Now, the aim of perspectives is to make sense of the world.
People don't take these, conservatives don't take these people seriously. Conservatives use them marching through the streets of Philadelphia for outrage bait on Twitter so they can get clicks and clout and cash and all that stuff. But if you believe that capitalism is going to be the end of humanity, don't you think you might take that a little bit more seriously? He literally said, revolution is humanity's only way. Conservatives don't take this stuff seriously because they don't take anything seriously. They have no principles. They have no ethics. They have no moral foundation. It's just a giant goddamn LARP. They throw their principles out the window all the time. We see them with Donald Trump talking about vetoing abortion bans and stuff like that. And I say that as someone who's pro-choice. But the fact of the matter is abortion bans are a conservative position. Donald Trump is just throwing that out the window and everyone's just going along with it. We need to vote for him anyway. It doesn't matter if he's throwing our principles out the window. I bring that up because conservatives have no principles that they really adhere to. Their only principle is owning the libs and outrage, and that's pretty much it. They're not real Christians. When they say they're Christians, they're not real Christians. They don't act like real Christians. They don't live like real Christians. They don't do anything like that. And so Conservatives literally cannot conceive of people who have principles. Conservatives can't conceive of people who genuinely have real political beliefs that they are willing to fight for and that they are willing to die for. The revolutionary communists of America believe that their communist overthrow of the government is humanity's only way. They very literally believe that they will die, their children will die, that capitalism is a death machine. We saw them say that on Socialism Saturday a couple weeks ago. So if you genuinely believe that the only way for humanity to survive is to overthrow capitalism, to overthrow the United States government, to institute a communist states of America, or there probably wouldn't even be states because socialists don't believe in borders. So communist America, raise the red flag of communism above the White House. If you believe that's humanity's only hope, do you think you're going to act on that? Do you think that maybe the people who are supposed to be in opposition to this, the people who whine and complain about this all the time on Twitter, do you think maybe they should start taking this a little bit more seriously than they are?
Out. Now, the aim of perspectives is to make sense of the world that we live in, to anticipate the most likely course of events, and to prepare our forces to have a decisive impact on those events. And we do this while connecting the day-to-day struggles of ordinary workers with this bigger perspective of the need for the revolutionary transformation of social and property relations. And so my aim today is to inspire all of you to love connecting the events that we're living through with all this theory and history that we're always discussing, because they're intimately interconnected. It's that theory and that history that allows us to draw general conclusions about the class struggle and to fully appreciate the vast potential for societal change and to understand our role in those processes. So our perspectives are a working hypothesis, and as with all science, we have to consistently test those hypotheses against the march of events. And through a series of successive approximations, we can get ever closer to understanding the real nature of reality. Now, unfortunately, although we consider ourselves scientific socialists, we don't have the luxury of controlled laboratory conditions that can be artificially set up and repeated over and over, or they can just run these simulations on a supercomputer. We have to do this in real time. We have to do it in the real world, which is full of contradictions and is in infinite motion and change. So the point isn't to anticipate the future in exact detail, but rather to foresee the main variant or handful of variants so we can be politically, organizationally, and psychologically prepared to gain in quantity or at least quality no matter what actually happens. So like good investors, we need to determine which contingencies we need to prepare for so we can identify where we can get the biggest return on those investments of energy and money and time. And by return, for us, of course, we're talking about new contacts, new members, new cadre, more influence in the workers' movement, and more money and resources to expand our work even further. Now, I'd say that we have a pretty good track record here in the U.S. of outlining the broad stroke of events. I mean, were any of you really shocked that someone tried to assassinate Mr. Donald J. Trump? I don't think so. Or that stumbling, bumbling Genocide Joe was eventually forced to abandon his campaign? Obviously not. And the reason we're not taken by surprise is because these events track 100% with the main processes we've identified, followed, written about, and discussed for the last few decades as a political tendency. So we, as Marxists, we expect the unexpected, because in this epoch of decay and decline, there's always more chaos and instability around the corner. Always. I mean, you think you've seen it all with the debate, and then, it's more and more and more. And this is what we mean when we say that we live in an epoch of polarization and instability. As the bourgeois themselves have said, we're living in an omni-crisis or a perma-crisis. So what we have to do is understand those general processes. Now, sometimes it can seem as if it's just one unprecedented event after another. It's gotten so bad, honestly, that even the word unprecedented starts to lose a little bit of its meaning. But the point here is that this entire historical epoch is unprecedented. That's what unprecedented. Now, there's been a lot of tumultuous periods in human history. We've been around for thousands of years with class society, and even within the relatively brief history of capitalism itself, you've had some intense times. But the situation today is different because this epoch is the transition between the capitalist and the communist modes of production. Not in over 100 years have we been so close to the end of capitalism on a world scale. Now, after the Russian Revolution, which was the greatest event in human history, after that failed to spread internationally, capitalism got another lease on life. The Great Depression, of course, gave the capitalists quite a big scare. But the betrayals of Stalinism in particular, and that really incredible rise of
the betrayals of Stalinism. You guys remember how yesterday we were watching Hawes, and Hawes is a Stalinist. Hawes with the American Communist Party. There's so many communist parties now, I get them confused. I can't remember all the names. Is actually RCA member still here? Actually, RCA, can you tell me what you think of Hawes in the American Communist Party? Because I'm going to tell you what he's going to say. These are Leninists. The Revolutionary Communists of America are Leninists. They're Bolsheviks. Hawes is a Stalinist. The Leninists do not like the Stalinists because the Leninists believe that Stalin ruined everything. That's what they mean when they say the betrayals of Stalinism. So the Revolutionary Communists of America are directly against. Yeah, this is he's the executive chairman of the American Communist Party. He's the MAGA communist. Of course, MAGA communism isn't a real thing. But yeah, the Revolutionary Communists of America are not even acknowledging the American Communist Party as like a real thing, because it's just like a giant social media grift. I agree with you on that. Yeah, they're not serious. But when he says the betrayals of Stalinism, they don't like Stalin.
U.S. imperialism during and after World War II, laid the basis for a prolonged period of economic boom. And that blunted the edge of the class struggle and had a profound effect on mass consciousness. But nothing lasts forever, as we know, and the economy started coming to a grinding halt by the mid-1970s, and it opened up a new epoch of even deeper crisis and struggle. But then you had the collapse of the Soviet Union and the restoration of capitalism in Russia, Eastern Europe, China, and so on. And this gave capitalism another little life raft. But that raft is now deflated. The sharks are starting to circle, and the system has nowhere meaningful to go except Mars, maybe. And even that can't save them, although I'm sure a lot of us would like to send some of these individuals off to Mars. So most of us, our entire lives, we've known nothing but crisis and instability. This last half century has been one of constant decay, constant decline, of hyper alienation, of mass shootings, of mass depression. It's gotten so bad that according to the World Health Organization, within 2 decades, depression will be second only to cardiovascular disease in terms of worldwide non-fatal disease burden. And yet, the wealth of society has never been so vast. The ruling class has rarely been so weak, and the working class has never been so numerically strong. So the potential for a world of genuine superabundance, a worker state, and the socialist transition from capitalism to moneyless, classless, stateless communism has never been.
Moneyless, classless, stateless communism. I want to just go back and just emphasize this. Hang on.
Genuine superabundance, a worker state, and the socialist transition from capitalism to moneyless, classless,
stateless communism. So conservatives come in here all the time, or maybe they're not just conservatives, but maybe they're just people who are more beginners in all this. And they say, Carlin, will we still pay taxes under communism? And I go, ain't gonna be no money under communism. Ain't gonna be no money. Ain't gonna be no banks. People have a really hard time understanding and wrapping their head around the idea that when the communist revolution happens in America, and it absolutely will happen in America at the rate that we're going, and I think it's going to happen in like the next 10 to 15 years, because people are not paying attention and they're not taking this seriously. The communists do take this seriously. They have been infiltrating every single institution in our society. They have like sleeper agents all throughout the government. They're all throughout the military. They own every single institution. And one day they're just going to go and there's going to be nothing we can do to stop it because no one took it fucking seriously. When they overthrow the United States government, when they abolish the Constitution, when they abolish the courts, when they abolish the Senate, when they abolish all these things, when they abolish all borders because they don't believe borders should exist, that's what they mean when they say stateless. They're globalists. They're not globalists like the WEF. They don't like the WEF at all. They're going to fight with the WEF at some point, but when they do all this, they're going to get rid of money. And they're going to get rid of banks, and they're going to get rid of police officers, and they're going to get rid of jails. They're going to replace jails with gulags. We already know maybe they're not going to call them that, but we saw communists. We saw the Party for Socialism and Liberation saying this a couple weeks ago on Socialism Saturday, where they're going to segregate and detain all of the people who are working against the socialist overthrow. Essentially, they're going to go to the gulags. That's going to be the new form of prison. They're going to go to the re-education camps. They're telling us moneyless, classless, stateless society. Classless means you do not own your home. You do not own land. You do not own a private business. You do not own intellectual property. You do not own apartments that you can rent out as a landlord. You do not have parental rights. You do not have individual liberties, because every single one of those things contributes to creating a class-based society. In order to create a society based on equity, you have to eliminate private property ownership. That is what they're talking about. Does everyone understand this? You cannot take the current system that we have and conceptualize that the system that communists want, that leftists want, it's a completely different thing. Yeah, you're making a joke, but we actually do have them on video talking about this. So, nice try. Does everyone understand? All right, I don't see any questions, so I'm going to assume people understand.
Communism has never been greater, but due to a lack of revolutionary leadership, that contradiction is not going to be resolved overnight. We're doing important work, but we're certainly not big enough yet. So this period we're living through, it's still the early stages of the greatest storm in human history, the most momentous transition our species has ever had to experience. And so, yes, it's going to be messy, it's going to be chaotic, but we have the benefit of Marxist theory. We have the benefit of having studied the rich history of class struggle across the ages, and in particular over the last 200 years. And we have an international which quickly analyzes world events as they happen, which allows us a lot of confidence in understanding what's happening. So personally, I'm not disconcerted by any of this. I actually take quite a lot of joy by watching this whole process unfold. Long before the founding of this country, an intimately connected chain of events was already in motion, you could say, that has led to this convergent history. So I actually take pleasure, intellectual pleasure, in understanding just what the hell is happening in this world, of being able to recognize all these interconnections and the fundamental dynamics of those processes. I feel anchored in the middle of the storm because I understand my place in it. And above all, I understand the role and the place of the RCI and the RCA in all of this. Because as individuals, we're absolutely hopeless to change anything. But as part of a revolutionary party, as part of a politically motivated and theoretically sharpened tool that has been created consciously to smash capitalism, we can and will change the course of history. Now, even a super voluntarist like Donald Trump can't impose his will on the historical process. Without the systemic crisis of capitalism, the endless crimes and betrayals of the Democrats and the labor leaders, and the distorted polarization and anger that this has led to, he wouldn't have a leg to stand on. And it's those same conditions, by the way, in which the exploitation and the oppression which are inherent to capitalism, they've been taken to the nth degree due to the belated nature, due to the delay of the world revolution, that this new generation of communists has emerged. And so our task is to win tens of thousands of them to our ideas, our program, perspectives, methods, and traditions. Because it's not enough to just self-identify as a communist, although that's a good and important starting point, but communists need both ideas and organization. And if we're going to have a real impact on history, we need hundreds and then thousands of trained cadres that can actually understand all of this, who can then train tens of thousands more people in the years ahead. And to do that, we need a deep and nuanced understanding of Marxist theory, history, and perspectives.
They're talking about training hundreds of thousands of people in their ideas. They're talking about creating tens of thousands of people who can go out and teach these ideas. Guys, I want to just point something out. I have maybe 150 people watching me right now. I have maybe 150 people watching me. My goal for years has been to train as many people as I can to understand what communists believe and what they're saying and what they think and what they're doing in the real world, so that people can go out and teach other people what's going on. And in many respects, I have failed. In many respects, I have failed at my goal. And I think there's a lot of reasons for the failure. I think part of the reason for the failure is I completely overestimated how interested the conservative right was in actually understanding and solving the problem. I was wrong about the conservative right. I genuinely thought, when I got involved in all of this years ago, I genuinely thought that conservatives were actually interested in solving this problem. I genuinely thought they actually cared. Turns out they don't. It was all just a grift all along. It was all just clickbait bullshit all along. And so I was completely unsuccessful in reaching what I thought was going to be the primary audience that could actually care about this stuff. And not only was I unsuccessful in that, I have gotten more pushback from the conservative right on what I'm doing than any other group, because conservatives would prefer to be lied to and to be pandered to than told the truth. And when I refuse to lie to them, and when I refuse to pander to them, and when I refuse to speak their talking points, they lied about me, they defamed me, they smeared me, they tried to destroy my work. And I could go on and on and on. I've talked about this before. So that didn't work. I also have a lot of people who tell me how important my work is all the time, but then they don't show up for the streams. They don't show up to actually learn. I have people who show up for the streams and then they don't listen and they don't actually learn. And it actually has been very upsetting to me. And I'm gonna be hard on people, and I appreciate people showing up and I appreciate people, trying. But I'm going to be honest, the last couple months has been very upsetting to me in terms of the backtracking that I'm seeing from people who should know better, who at one time did know better, who then for some reason they get confused, they forget what's going on, and they start to actually unlearn what's been taught. And I think that's because, quite frankly, I'm not the only person people are listening to. And the problem is that anytime people go out and they learn about socialism or communism from other people who are teaching this stuff, they get confused and they backtrack, and then I have to unteach them the things that they've learned from other people, and then they have to start all over, and it's just this perpetual process. And so I articulate this story to really show people it is goddamn near impossible to achieve the task that I've been trying to achieve. My entire goal has been to teach people as much as I can about what's been going on so that they can go out and teach other people. And it just doesn't work like that. And I don't know why. I really don't. I don't know why. Do I think it's too late? Well, if people refuse to show up and actually learn, yes, it's too late. Yeah, it's too late. If people refuse to show up, they refuse to learn, they refuse to take this seriously, I have to beg for things like people liking the video. I have to beg for things like people sharing the video. When I ask pop quizzes over and over again, people give wrong answers over and over and over again because they don't listen. Yeah, it's too late. It's too late. Because the communists have people that are showing up. The communists have people who are listening. The communists have people who are taking this seriously. And I do absolutely believe there are people in my community who take this seriously. I 100% do. I'm not talking about you. If you feel like I'm not singling anyone out personally, I'm saying on the larger picture. We don't have enough people. We don't have enough people. We don't. Well, Misa, yes, you do. Yes, you take this seriously. I see the things you post on Twitter. I see the things you're reading. I try to retweet them when I see them. There are people who do take this seriously. However, we don't have the numbers. And I don't know any other way to get people to pay attention other than what I've been doing. I could start pandering to people. I could start being nice to people. I could start saying, "No, honey, just because you got that question wrong that you've been asked a million times, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay. It's okay to repeat what Dan Bongino told you or Glenn Beck told you. It's okay. And everyone's right and everyone deserves a cookie and everyone deserves a gold star and all that stuff." I could be nicer to people. I could pander to people and tell them what they want to hear. I could do any sorts of things, but I don't know what else to do. And so I guess I'm saying that what I want to point out to people is that the communists are actually taking this seriously. They have a plan. They have people showing up to their events. They have people that are, funding all of this. They have people who are going out and teaching other people and recruiting other people. What is it that I have to do to get this to happen? Because I just don't even know. I don't even know what to say anymore. I really don't. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to people who haven't yet figured out that James Lindsay is lying. I don't know what to say to people who will sit around and listen to a 4-hour podcast about James Lindsay saying nothing of value. And we've listened to enough of them now on this channel to know that James Lindsay is not saying anything of value, but refuse to actually sit down and look at what real communists are saying. I don't know how to get this stuff out there anymore. Yeah, I mean, this is like, I just need to go to the gym and lose a bunch of weight and, show off my tits and stuff like that. And then people will come and watch communism. I mean, is that really what's going to be required? That's what they keep telling me. Carlin, you don't have people watching because you're just not pretty enough. Well, all right. So maybe a pretty blonde girl will take over and start showing you guys communism. I don't know. So the point I guess I'm making is that they will win because they're serious. We will lose because our side is not serious. And that's not an attack on anyone that's here, but I don't know how to get people to take this more seriously. And I don't know how to do more. I suppose I could do more than I'm already doing. I suppose I could do more how to speak socialist classes. I suppose I could be more diligent about publishing the re-education series. I mean, I can make excuses saying it's been a busy month with the DNC and all that stuff, but I suppose I could be more diligent about these things. But even when I publish stuff, I can't get people to share it. So I can hit a whole bunch of people. I have tens of thousands of people on my mailing list, but I don't know how many people are actually reading it. I don't know how many people are actually sharing it. I know that the number showing up for the streams doesn't change. So I don't know, guys. What do I need to do? What do I need to do to get people to show up to learn and engage? What do I need to do? I'm actually asking here. What do I need to do? What do I need to do to get people to share my stuff out there more? What do I need to do to get people to bring more people to the streams? What do I need to do to get people to share the written work more? What do I need to do? And some of you are already doing a lot. Reagan is already doing a lot. What do I need to do? You can share a constructive criticism if you like. Now, it might not get the response that you want, because usually when people like you, no offense, are sharing constructive criticisms, you're just insulting people. But go ahead, give it a try. Hey, Angel Eyes. I appreciate you. Angel Eyes, you do a great job. I see the stuff you post on Twitter. I appreciate you. See, I'm not talking about everyone, guys. I'm really not. Well, I can't teach it in person if people won't have me to teach it in person. I can't teach it in person if people won't show. If people aren't going to show up for a live stream, what makes you think they're going to show up to an in-person event? Like, people can invite me to teach this stuff in person. I've done it before. Where do you want me to go? Nope, I don't. No. No, I will not stop banning people. That will absolutely not happen. If people can't come and follow simple rules, then they're not. Here is the thing that you assholes don't understand. I cannot teach this when my chat is full of shit posting and nonsense and conspiracy theories and bullshit. If people are showing up and they're insulting me and they're insulting other people and they're whining and complaining constantly and they're being disruptive and they continue after they've been asked to stop several times, they're going to get fucking banned. Those people are not going to be useful. Those people are only a distraction. So no, if people can't follow basic fucking rules, they can pound fucking sand and go somewhere else. We don't want them here. If someone can't show up and not insult people and not whine like a fucking child, do you really think that I believe they're going to sit here and watch communism with me quietly and learn? Are you fucking stupid? See, these are the things that I will not change. Carlin, you should pander to the lowest common denominator on the internet, the people that just want to whine and cry and complain all the time and that just want outrage content, because they're going to help you save the world. No, they're fucking not. No, they're not. And we're going to be realistic about this. I don't want them here. The chat doesn't want them here. So no. Reagan, you do a lot. None of this is directed at you. Reagan goes above and beyond. Yeah, conservatives absolutely believe that they're victims. Please. Have you been on conservative Twitter for more than a day and a half? Conservatives absolutely believe they're victims. Conservatives are fucking lazy. No, I can't do more interviews because I don't want to do more interviews. Why? People don't show up for them. I was going to share this, but then you started guilt tripping people. So now I'm not going to. All right, you just got banned. Goodbye. See, that's the type of shit I don't want. That is the type of shit I don't want. You started guilt tripping people, and I was going to share. I thought this was going to be great and amazing content, but now you're guilt tripping people to try to get them to actually do stuff. How fucking dare you? I'm never going to share your content if you actually expect me to do stuff. Then you don't belong here. See, this is what I'm talking about. I don't want those people. That person I just banned, that's going to come in and whine and complain about everything, that person's not going to do anything in the real world. How do we find people that actually give a fuck? That person that I just banned, that person doesn't actually really care. That person is not going to be productive. That person's not going to share stuff out. That person's not going to sit here and watch communism, because the first time I say something they don't like, they're going to whine and complain, be like, you're saying something different than libs of TikTok. Fuck you. And that's what it's going to be. And I know that because I've been doing this for a long time. So how do we find more people that actually give a fuck? is the question. I don't want pure numbers, and I want to be very clear about this. I don't want pure numbers. I want to find people who actually give a fuck. I am not going to be one of those people that's going to be captured by my audience like Tim Pool is. No, if you cannot follow basic rules and basic instruction, you do not belong here. Guys, stop fucking interacting with him. He is just trying to gaslight you. Jesus Christ, I have to explain this every single time. Every single time. This is a class. This is not daycare for the stupid. I'm not gonna teach people how to use Twitter. I'm sorry. Like that's not going to happen. Well, Starbright, I'm going to be very blunt with you, Starbright. You DM'd me a video earlier today that you swore to me was about communism in America, and then I watched that video, and it turns out it was just conservative propaganda talking points that had nothing to do with real communism in America. And so, I'm going to be honest, you're kind of one of the people I'm talking about. Because, like, when I get videos from you in my DMs, and I appreciate some of the stuff you DM me, I'm not saying everything, but I am saying that I looked at that video today that you DM me that you swore was about communism, and it was not about communism. It was conservative propaganda. And that's part of the problem. That's part of what I'm talking about. And then I said to you, it's about conservative propaganda. And you said, no, Carlin, this is a great watch. And so this is what I'm talking about when I say that people are backtracking and they're not getting it. If you think that video that you sent me today is great, then that's not good. It's really not good. Why would I do that if parents aren't going to show up? And I mean, no, I don't think that that's going to, no. Okay. All right. So what I'm seeing is I'm actually asking people, what can I do? And I'm not actually getting anything of value. And that's no offense to anyone. I know people are trying, but again, it's like, this is the problem. This is the problem. No, they don't have an army of stupid people. They're not stupid people. If you think they're stupid people, you are not listening. So this is the problem. Is that I don't know how to find more people who actually care about this stuff. I don't know if there are more people who actually care about this stuff. I think that conservative influencers have completely corrupted the online space to make everyone stupid and outraged addicted. No, we're not going to do a book club. Do you know what happens when I try to do a book club? No one reads the fucking book. I know, because I used to try. We used to try to do a book club every month, every other month, something like that. And every single time I did a book club, no one actually read the fucking book. And so I would show up to book club and no one would have anything to say because no one had read the fucking book. So nope, that's not going to work. No book club. I'm not wasting my fucking time when people aren't going to show up. Do you know they do book clubs? They actually read books. So this is the problem that needs to be solved. I don't know how to solve this problem because I don't know how to make people care about this. I am not going to pander to the largest possible audience. I only want people who actually care and are actually here to do what we want to do. I don't want people who are shitposting. I don't want people who are fucking retarded. I don't want people who are looking for outrage porn. I don't like none of these things. That is the problem that needs to be solved. If we can't solve that problem, then I don't know if this is worth doing. I really don't. I really think, guys, like the past couple years for me have been very eye-opening in terms of how little people actually care about this stuff, how much they claim to care about it, but how little they actually care. So, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this stuff if people don't care. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this stuff if people aren't going to show up. I don't know. I just don't know how it's possible. But I don't know. Yeah, go ahead and start a book club and find out how many people refuse to read the book that is assigned, but will show up anyway. Go ahead, give it a try. There are 300 million more capitalist Americans that need to learn this, but there are 30 million, because the other 30 million are socialist. Yeah, but they don't care to learn it. If people don't want to learn something, you can't force people to learn something. You can't force people to show up. You can't force people to care about this stuff, you know? Anyway, let's just keep going. Let's learn how much more productive the communists are going to be with a couple thousand members than we can be with millions of people who allegedly care about ending communism.
So happy this morning to see the line out the door, practically out the door, people buying big stacks of books. That really is
Big
essential
stacks of
for the
books.
future. And so what we need to do, each of us individually and also ourselves collectively as a political tendency, is to go back to the fundamentals. We have to go back to the fundamentals of the class struggle, the economy, and this broad historical process.
Yes. Yeah, I say this all the time. I talk about quitting all the time. How would you feel? How would you feel if you cared about something and you showed up and worked 12 hours a day on that thing for 6 days a week? And usually I work on Sundays too. I just don't stream on Sundays. And you've been doing this for years. I have covered more content from the far left than anyone else in the world over the last 3.5 years, and it's not even close. And it's not even close. I have done more undercover work than anyone in the past couple of years. I have created literal classes teaching about this stuff. I've created the clips that people ask for all the time, and then when I create the clips that they ask for, they don't actually use them. I've created an entire series of writing dedicated to explaining this stuff to people. And I still can't get people to show up, and I still have to fight with right-wing influencers all the time who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And how long would you be willing to do that? I have to beg people to financially support what I'm doing. You guys think I'm getting rich teaching socialism on the internet? I promise you, I am not getting rich teaching socialism on the internet. I could be making way more money if I went back to corporate training, and I know that. I almost quit at the end of last year. I really almost quit at the end of last year. I was like, this is fucking stupid. No one's following along. No one's learning. No one's doing what I need them to do. So how long would you put up with that? How long would you go? Because I've been going for 4.5 years. How long would you go working 12 to 16 hours a day, every day, without taking a vacation, without help, doing everything yourself, creating more content about this than anyone else on the internet, constantly getting shit on by the conservative right, constantly getting fucking shit on. Begging people to show up, begging people to sit their asses down, having people show up every single stream trying to be disruptive. And the people showing up and being disruptive, by the way, they're from the conservative right. They're not from the left. They're from the conservative right. How long would you go? Cool. Start a team with who? Start a team with who? Start a team with what money? It doesn't get further reach because I've been completely blacklisted by conservative organizations for many reasons, but because I won't toe the line on fucking Israel. And because I won't speak their talking points, and because they can't control me and they know it. So, how long would you go? I've become very black-pilled. Conservatives act like they care, but in reality, they won't even listen. And when they do, they tell you you're wrong, even if they see it and hear it, and socialists agree with you. Yeah, I literally have socialists. I literally have socialists that come to me and say, Carlin, you understand our ideology better than like pretty much any non-socialist. But you try to explain this with conservatives and they're like, no, fuck you. Libs of TikTok is better than me. It's like, you know what? Seriously? Fucking seriously? Fucking seriously? Fucking seriously. Person I've never seen in my chat before, stop talking about yourself and talking in the chat. Just teach us. Fuck you. This is part of the problem. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Goodbye. Banned. Those are the people who are not serious. If you guys are suggesting things that have been tried and that have not worked or that are not grounded in reality, again, is it your expectation? Because I don't know who you are. I haven't seen you here before. Is it your expectation that I'm just going to kiss your ass and say, yes, darling, that book club is a great fucking idea. You know, we've tried book club before, and every single time we try book club, people don't show up and they don't read the book. And then I spend all this time doing all this work to host this book club and no one shows up. But you know what? Maybe the book club will work this time. Maybe this time people will start to care. Yes, darling, great suggestion. Is that what you want? Well, you didn't become a conservative grifter just owning the libs and selling whatever hooks the right sheep. The reason those influencers do what they do. Yep. True. All right, let's just keep going.
Process. We have to be able to explain how the capitalist mode of production, it's long past its sell-by date, and the nation state and the market economy are the main barriers to further human progress. These have to be replaced by an international planned economy that can harness our species and our planet's full potential. Now, we need to explain to people, and we got to start with understanding this ourselves, the mechanics of exploitation under capitalism and how oppression is a function of that. We need to understand what classes are, what the main classes in US society are, and how the different relations of these classes to the means of production lead to the need for political and organizational class independence. We need to be able to explain the fundamentals of bourgeois politics, how the Democrats and Republicans are in essence the same party. They're the party of property, and that they have two right wings. We need to make it clear that the reformists, the so-called liberal socialists, and the progressive wing of the bourgeoisie are doomed by the fact that they limit themselves to capitalism. We need to be able to explain what Trumpism is and what it isn't. And we should highlight the fact that despite all the confusion out there, the class balance of forces has never been so overwhelmingly in favor of the workers. And there's no doubt about that. I mean, the number of workers in society on the world scale and the United States is bigger than ever. But as we know, without a bold revolutionary leadership, without class struggle trade unionism, that political vacuum is being filled temporarily by demagogic populists of various types, and in particular, by far-right populists. We need to be able to explain how the US came to be in the position it is, that it's had a privileged position on a world scale since it was founded, and even more so since World War II, and even more so after that, after the fall of the Soviet Union, which led to this period of undisputed imperialist domination. But that's over now. That's all finished. We've been plunged once again, whether we like it or not, into a world of revolution, of crisis, of counter-revolution. So we need to go back to those fundamentals. We have to explain, what is the economic cycle? How does the stock market work? What about inflation, unemployment, homelessness? And why is it that the quality of life is collapsing? And of course, extremely important, we need to go to the fundamentals of Marxist philosophy, of dialectical materialism, which is our most powerful tool of analysis. Maybe more than anything, though, we need to explain
All
what a
right,
revolution
see, and
is.
again, this is the type of retard that I normally expect to show up. This lady is not. Second or third time I've stopped to see what she's on, but I won't be back. Yeah, you're right, you won't be back because we're gonna ban you. I've never even seen you in the chat before, which is unfortunate because I was so hoping. This is your typical conservative retard. All I wanted was to sit and watch communism. All I wanted was to learn about this stuff. I wanted so badly to learn about this stuff, but she's just such a crazy fucking bitch. I just can't take it. I can't take it. It's too much. You're telling me people like this are going to save us? You're telling me that people like this are going to defeat the left? This is why I have no problem with banning people like this from my channel. People who are confused about this. If you are going to show up and whine and complain because you are so undisciplined that you can't sit your ass down and watch what's going on and ask questions, then you are not going to do shit that's productive. You're just another outrage-addicted moron on the internet who is not going to accomplish anything, and we do not want you here. I do not want people. When I say I want more people engaging with this, these are exactly the type of people that I do not want. They are nothing but a distraction. They are going to accomplish nothing. They're going to be a constant pain in the ass. Most of them are mentally fucking ill. They are addicted to outrage. They're addicted to nonsense. Libs of TikTok is their only news source. It's the only thing they watch. They have no interest in learning in what the real far left is. They want to be catered to. They want to be pandered to. If you don't say what they want you to say, if you don't do what they want you to do, they whine and complain like this. They go on Twitter, that crazy fucking bitch. I wanted to learn communism so badly, but she was so fucking mean to me. What a moron. What a retard. Goodbye. Exactly. If you wanted to learn about it, you're not going to get scared away by my tone. A late fee. A late fee. Carlin isn't compatible with TikTok. No, my work is not compatible with TikTok. Work on attention spans if you aren't just trolling. Otherwise, go bother James Lindsay. Exactly. Exactly. Hey, thanks, Alex. I appreciate you. Hang on, let me get that super chat registered. Appreciate it. Yeah, this isn't the quartering. If you want to get fucking low IQ retard content, don't stay here.
That seems like a simple question, but we need to be able to explain in detail, while at the same time not making it too complicated, what a revolution is, why we see one on the horizon, and why we need to have a sense of urgency in preparing for it. So in other words, we have to use facts, figures, and arguments to bring the fundamentals of Marxism to life. It's those fundamentals that allows us to place all the details into the proper context and to understand the situation we're passing through so we can prioritize our work. It's the core of our analysis, and without it, everything else is just undifferentiated random noise. Now, if we do this, we will be able to connect with those young communists and those older communists that are coming out of the woodwork these days, who are looking, again, not only for action, but for answers. We need to understand the conditions that shaped the consciousness of these millions of people. We need to merge our small forces with the best elements and grow into a truly large and powerful force where we can fill all the different venues in this space here in Philadelphia and become, again, an actual factor in the historical process. So let's take a look at some of the elements, some of those factors that are driving these dramatic changes in consciousness, starting with the economic situation, which is a crisis that's been accelerating with ebbs and flows ever since, in particular since 2008. Now, Joe Biden, you've heard of him, he based a big part of his campaign on the idea that the US economy is the envy of the world. He couldn't understand why the most pro-union president in US history wasn't just cruising unopposed to re-election. But the reality on the ground is very different, as we all know. The consumer price index has increased nearly 21% since the start of the pandemic. A typical household, it was
It's
found
not a bad idea.
just a couple of days ago, a typical household has to spend
not a bad
$925 more every month to buy the same goods and services that they bought 3 years ago. 39% of US adults say they worry most or all of the time that their family's income won't be enough to meet expenses. That's up from 28% in December 2021, in the middle of the pandemic. And that's even more than the 37% we saw during the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009. 35% of Americans say they've had to take on extra work to pay the bills. Since 2019, rents have grown faster than wages in 44 of 50 major metropolitan areas. In 2023 alone, in New York City, rents grew 7 times faster than wages. Consumer spending is a big deal in this country. It accounts for 68% of GDP. And of course, if people have to spend more money on things like rent, then they don't have money to buy other things. Now, inflation has come down a little bit in recent weeks, but the damage has been done, and it's just too little, too late. Even if prices aren't going up as quickly as they were a couple of years ago, they remain historically high. And so to make ends meet, workers have had to raid their savings, if they have any, or to turn to credit. And the credit is a way that the capitalists are able to expand the market temporarily, artificially, beyond the normal bounds of the market. But as one long-term unemployed worker put it recently, said, it's sort of like grabbing a few pennies out of a piggy bank every few days, and eventually that piggy bank weighs a little lighter. And there seem to be more days.
Hang on, Azurwing. Thanks for Azurwing. I appreciate it. Do you think socialists participate in employer-backed 401ks or retirement funds? If so, how would they justify owning part of the company and getting paid off of other people's labor? I don't know. That's not a question I've really thought about. Well, they believe that they should own parts of the company. They believe that companies should be worker-owned. They believe in co-ops. They believe in holacracies. They believe in those types of systems. So I don't think, again, like, they're allowed to participate in the system if it gives them the resources to overthrow the system. So I don't actually think they'd be that upset about it. Thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it.
Ahead than there are pennies.
No.
That's dialectic.
No. Wrong. When I talk about people showing up and not listening, you are one of the people that I'm talking about. Pop quiz for the chat. Why are socialists allowed to participate in capitalism? And it is not hypocrisy. Anyone who says it's hypocrisy hasn't been fucking listening. Why are socialists allowed to participate in capitalism and it is not hypocrisy? It says they're allowed to in the Communist Manifesto. They're forced to live in capitalism and have to survive so they can use it to bring about socialism. Socialists are allowed to participate in capitalism because the Communist Manifesto allows them to do it in order to survive. Because they're still living in a country participating in capitalism. They're utilizing the money to overthrow the system. They use it to overthrow the system. It's in the Communist Manifesto. They do it to survive, to overthrow capitalism. They engage in capitalism to destroy it from the inside. The Communist Manifesto allows them to do it. It is not hypocrisy. Anyone who says it's hypocrisy doesn't understand the basics. Because they're allowed to use capitalism for their benefit being to overthrow capitalism. They're allowed to partake in capitalism in order to survive, as long as the goal is to overthrow capitalism. Capitalism is the system they exist under, so they're allowed to participate in it and work towards abolishing it. That's why it's not hypocrisy. Instantly dismiss the opinions of anyone who says they're hypocrites if they own an Apple computer with a smash capitalism sticker on it. They're just hypocrites. They don't know what socialism is. They do know what socialism is. They're familiar with their own books, and their own books give them permission to do that.
Tactics right there, comrades. That's quantity turning into quality. Now, 32% of Gen Z and 31% of millennials have less than $1,000 in savings. And remember, these are the good times. This is not the recession. Just wait until the next technical recession actually hits. So consumer debt has now hit yet another record of $18 trillion. The numbers are so big you can hardly make sense of them, right? In May of this year, just a couple months ago, Americans added over $11 billion in what they owe on credit cards, on auto, and student loans. And the average consumer household debt is now over $100,000. As an analyst at Bankrate put it, people are definitely spending. That's supporting the economy. But it's not good to the extent that many of these cardholders are paying an average interest of over 20%. And that's the catch, of course. All of that debt has to be paid back eventually with interest. That means so that once you've spent the money that you've borrowed, you have to make enough money to cover your basic expenses, plus a significant percentage above that to just pay the interest on the debt that you've got. But almost nobody's getting raises of 20% or more to keep up with that. And this applies not only to individuals, but also to governments. The US national debt, the federal debt, it's predicted to top $56 trillion over the next 10 years, with the debt to GDP ratio, which is an important indicator of the health of the national economy. They expect it to rise from 99% this year to 122% in 2034. Now, this year, this blows my mind, but this year alone, the US federal government is going to spend $892 billion on interest payments alone. That's more than the official defense budget. That's hundreds of billions of dollars in virtually free money to the banks, which are like vampires sucking up ever more of the unpaid labor of the working class. And yet they tell us that there's no money for essential social programs like healthcare and education. Now, the annual federal budget, how much the government brings in taxes and other resources, and how much they spend, this year, the deficit is projected to be $1.9 trillion. That means that in a single year, the government's going to spend nearly $6,000 more per person living here than they bring in. That means that each and every one of you is going.
I want you to answer the question for me. I want to make sure you were actually listening, because your response doesn't actually make me feel like you were listening. Why are socialists allowed to participate in capitalism and it is not hypocrisy? This is only for this person. I want to see your answer in the chat. Why is it not hypocrisy for socialists to participate in capitalism? I want you to explain it to us to make sure that you are actually paying attention. We'll wait. You have two options. You will either explain it, or you're going to say you don't know, or I'll just ban you. We'll wait. We're still waiting. No one else answered this. This is just for him. You want to come in, you want to give me criticism, and then you don't listen to what's being said, which is exactly the point I'm trying to make, that you guys don't fucking listen. You pretend you care just because you just please be nice to us, Carl. Please be nicer to us. We promise we'll listen if you're just nicer to us. Answer the fucking question. Yes, that's for you. Yeah, that's for you. Answer the question. The next thing you chat in, if it's not the answer to the question that I'm asking you, you're going to get permanently banned. Why are socialists allowed to participate in capitalism and it is not hypocrisy? I'm being serious. If you type anything in my chat that is not an answer to that question, you're going to get permanently banned. You're correct. We did just tell you that. Now you've got one more chance. What is the answer to the question? You were the one that wanted to dole out criticism to me earlier. I promise, Carlin, I'll listen if you're just nicer. I promise I'll listen if you're just nicer. We literally just answered the question for you. You weren't listening. Now you're going to answer it or we're going to kick your ass out. And you don't get to come back. Why are socialists allowed to participate in capitalism and it is not hypocrisy? We're waiting. You either answer the question or you say, I don't know. Those are your two options. No, you didn't just say it. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. This is your last fucking chance. Answer the question or say you don't know. Those are your only two options. Nope. Wrong. Wrong. That is not the correct answer. You get one more try. Nope, we don't see your answer. We absolutely do not. Answer the fucking question. We don't see your answer because you didn't answer it. Don't fucking gaslight us. Answer the fucking question. You're in the middle of something? Oh, too bad. Goodbye. You just got permanently banned. Bye. We won't miss you. Bye.
Going into debt by an additional $500 every single month, and you have zero say about it, and you're going to see virtually nothing in exchange for that money. And they use this money to prop up scumbags like Zelensky and Netanyahu. Now, on a world scale, governments owe $91 trillion in debt, which is almost equivalent to the entire world economy. And so now we're being told that, quote, governments will have to make hard choices that could be very consequential for people's lives. Now that's just code language for cuts, attacks, austerity on a scale that's going to dwarf anything that we've seen anywhere. And if you look at what happened in Kenya, if you look at what happened in Sri Lanka, if you look at what happened, a decade ago in Greece, you know where these processes lead to. Now, The problem is that the only way to sort of get ahead of those payments, to get ahead of that interest, to get ahead of all of this, is to expand the economy more quickly or to raise more tax revenues. And either of those can only happen by squeezing the workers even harder. And yet, according to the IMF, they just said last week that the U.S. economy is growing slower than expected, and that the labor market is already starting to cool.
I'm gonna go get some tea, guys. I'll be right back. I'll let this play. Let me know if I miss anything.
So what's going to happen when you have an actual recession, and not these good old times we're living in now, but an actual recession with mass layoffs, people losing their homes, people losing their cars, and so on? Now, when you take inflation out of the equation, let's imagine there was no inflation, then more or less wages have grown by about 1.5% over the last 4 years. Of course, that's an average. There's a lot of people whose wages have been completely gutted by inflation because they haven't received much of an increase. So that's an average. That doesn't count for everybody. But the situation is even more glaring when you compare that 1.5% in wage increases, inflation adjusted, if you will, to how much GDP grew over the last 4 years, which is by 7%. So 7%, I'm not very good at math, but 7% minus 1.5% is quite a lot of wealth that's been generated just in this country over the last few years. And it's kind of a mystery where that money went. Do any of you have any idea where the money went? No? Well, in March of 2020, the US had 614 billionaires with a combined wealth of $2.95 trillion. 4 years later, the country now has 737 billionaires with a combined wealth of $5.53 trillion, an increase of nearly 88% over just 4 years. Elon Musk's wealth has grown from $25 billion 4 years ago to about $190 billion, 7 times more money. In 2020, Jeff Bezos was the only centibillionaire who had $100 billion or more. Today, the entire top 10 richest Americans are all centibillionaires, and these 10 people have a combined wealth of $1.4 trillion. Now, on a world scale, to put it into context, the 5 richest men in the world have more than doubled their fortunes since 2020. At a rate of, guess what? Guess how much they make? $14 million per hour. These people make. They don't make it. That's what they suck in. While the 5 billion poorest people on the planet have gotten poorer. So, for most Americans, the Biden years.
Well, Kyle, first of all, I don't believe you. Secondly, why does this always happen? Why is it always just magically when someone is causing problems in my chat, when someone is being disruptive, when someone is saying stupid things, when we try to teach them and everyone else gives the correct answer, and that one person who's causing the problems and is not listening, that it is at that exact moment, every single time, that person absolutely typed the correct answer into the chat. And we just didn't see it. None of us saw it. They were disruptive. They weren't listening. They said something stupid in the first place. Everyone else in the chat gives the correct answer. And it is at that exact moment, every single time, that the poor abused victim in my chat typed the perfect, most correct answer. And none of us saw it. And it must all be the chat's fault, because they typed the correct answer, and it's just so unfair. And instead of retyping it and trying again when we tell them that, no, we didn't actually see your correct answer because they're fucking gaslighting us, that they then stomp their feet and they say, I just don't know the correct answer. Fuck you. I'm doing something else. It is the same thing every single time this happens. Yeah, Kyle, you're probably looking at top chat. I'm not looking at top chat. I see every single chat that comes in. Does it say top chat at the top of your screen, bro? If you have it saying top chat at the top of your screen, you are not going to see every chat that comes in. I am not looking at top chat because every single chat that comes in displays on my screen. And just by magic, every single time someone complains about this,
have been years of declining living standards, to say the least. And it's little wonder that they're so pissed off. So a big part of Trump's appeal is just good old-fashioned pragmatism and wishful thinking. You know, he's updated his Make America Great slogan. He's updated that, and now he says that he's going to make America wealthy once again, which sounds pretty good when you're not doing so well. Now, how he's going to do that is a mystery, of course, but you know, we shouldn't be surprised if he makes or if he has his vice president make these demagogic attacks against Wall Street to keep up those populist credentials. But the reality is that the capitalists are between a rock and a hard place. We've talked about this before, but labor productivity historically has been trending downward. That's how much value workers create on average per hour of labor, while wages have been creeping upward. And in the first quarter of this year, the first 3 months of this year, which is the most recent quarter that they had data for, non-farm business sector labor productivity, as they call it.
For people who are following along on the stream later, the reason that the chats weren't showing up for Kyle is Kyle had top chat selected. That's why it wasn't showing up for him. I don't have that problem. So if that person had chatted in something, I damn well would have seen it. They didn't chat in anything because they never chat in anything because it goes the same way every fucking time.
Increased by just 0.2%. So productivity increased by 0.2%, but hourly compensation, more or less wages and salary, rose by 4.2%. So it's cost the capitalists about 4% more in labor costs and paying for that labor power. At the same time, in the first quarter, corporate profits fell by 2.7%. So in other words, the wages are too high for the capitalists because it's cutting into their profits, but it's certainly way too low for the workers because it can't keep up with inflation. Now that is a finished recipe for the intensification of the class struggle, with or without all the smoke and mirrors of this election year and all these promises of a return to mythical greatness. So there's a lot more that could be said about the economy. We talked a bit about it this morning, about immigration, about climate change, about Gaza, Ukraine, about the shifting balance of imperialist power and this relative decline of U.S. imperialism, which is something very important to bear in mind. This question of globalization or the reversal of global trade, this ongoing trade war between the U.S. and China and Europe, and how all of this is affecting the U.S. But I think what I've covered so far should suffice to make it clear why people are so angry, frustrated, and desperate for some kind of real change. And this then is the basis. This is the fundamental basis for this profound political crisis that we're witnessing. As we know, I hope we know, that politics is concentrated economics, and economics is ultimately concentrated class struggle. So what we're seeing in politics isn't just a question of personalities or of political infighting or of just disagreements over what to do at this or that stage of the economic cycle. It's organic. It's hard-baked into capitalism, and there's no way out on the basis of this system. And so that's why we call this a systemic crisis, or we call it a crisis of the regime. Now, how many of you tuned into the Biden-Trump debate?
No, I don't think that would make a
Or
difference.
saw it shortly after? That was pretty pathetic, right? I mean, but that spectacle was really just one concrete example of the senile decay of the system and the lack of options. You better believe if they could come up with another Obama or another JFK or some someone who can at least string sentences together, they would try. Obviously, they've been forced to make a change. I'll talk about that in a bit. But the bottom line is that they don't have a lot of options. And as one historian said after that debate, he said, "I am worried about the image projected to the outside world. It's not an image of leadership. It's an image of terminal decline." And Trotsky could have written those words a few decades ago, and it's 100% correct. So I think it's worth remembering the extremely prescient words of Comrade Ted Grant, what he said after the fall of the Soviet Union. You know, the Soviet Union for decades, despite its problems, was a counterbalance to untrammeled capitalism and untrammeled American capitalism in particular. And Ted said that although this collapse, the fall of the USSR, was a world historic defeat for the working class, it nevertheless was merely the prelude to another even greater historical drama, which was the epoch of the terminal decline and fall of capitalism. So, comrades, what we're living through right now are the birth pangs of the old society, which is pregnant with the new, and the new society can be birthed only through revolution. And as any mother can tell you, or
The new society can only be birthed through revolution.
anyone who works with mothers or with babies, childbirth can be painful, it can be prolonged, it can be a bloody process, especially when the baby is long overdue, which is what we're dealing with. So what is a revolution? Let's at least look at that quickly.
Teresa, you really should know better at this point. You really, really should. I'm sorry. I know, and I say this, Teresa, because I know you watch a lot of my content. You should absolutely know what they think of Kamala Harris if you watch a lot of my content.
Now, revolution, it represents the culmination of a period of intensifying class antagonisms and these overlapping economic, social, and political crises. The ruling class is divided, and they're unable to rule in the old way. The middle layers of society are crushed by the weight of the crisis, and they're desperate to find a way out. And the working class, which is living in increasingly intolerable conditions, it draws the conclusion en masse that the only way out is to rise up and to fight. The workers become aware of their colossal power, of their common interests, not as individuals, but as a class. And they surge into this opening at the top that's been left by the ruling class, who are fighting amongst themselves. The workers surge through that breach, and they seize their destiny in their hands. And very often they set up revolutionary committees or organs, elements of dual power, as we call them, like the Soviets in Russia, or the Shuras in Iran, or the Cabildo Abierto in Bolivia. And so, as Trotsky put it, the most indubitable feature of a revolution is the direct interference of the masses in historical events. And I think it's pretty clear that we're seeing the early stages of this process unfolding right before our eyes. But of course, those of us here, we're here because we know that there's another essential factor that's needed if we're going to lead not only to a revolution, but to its victory and to its consolidation. We've seen quite a few revolutions. I mean, even some of you have only been members for a few months, and yet you've already seen, embryos of revolution in places like Kenya. I mean, they're not that uncommon, but victorious revolutions are very, very, very rare. And what's needed is that a section of the workers be organized politically, armed with Marxist ideas and class struggle, class independent methods, that we have thousands of cadres rooted in our class so that we can serve as a catalyst for that process, as a transmission belt, as Bolshevik drill sergeants for training up millions of revolutionary fighters in quick order when the moment of the actual uprising starts to approach. So that's why we say we need a party with a far-sighted Marxist leadership that's looking well ahead, not just what happened last week, but what's likely to happen months and years and even decades in the future. A leadership that's steeled and that's willing to take the revolution to its logical conclusion, which is the establishment of a workers' state and the overthrow of capitalist property relations. Now, obviously, there's a little bit more to it than that.
A worker state and the overthrow of capitalist property relations. What does that mean? Pop quiz for the chat. What is it? The overthrow of capitalist property relations.
In decades in the future, a leadership that's steeled and that's willing to take the revolution to its logical conclusion, which is the establishment of a workers' state and the overthrow of capitalist property relations.
The conclusion of their revolution is the establishment of a worker state and the overthrow of capitalist property relations. What does that mean? Ending private property, no more private property. What does that mean? What does it mean that they're ending private property? You're about to get banned if you don't cut the bullshit. Nope. No. That's not what that means. That's not what that means. Nope. What does it mean to end? Guys, this is where I say people are backtracking. This is where I say, like, every single person in the chat should be able to answer this. What does it mean that they are ending private property ownership? Unless you are new, you should be able to answer this. If you're new, you get a pass for now. One person has gotten this answer correct so far. One. And that person is Rottweiler. When they say they want to abolish private property, abolishing capitalism means abolishing private property ownership. The definition of private property is your ability to own a home, your ability to own land, your ability to own an apartment rental that you rent out as a landlord, your ability to own a private business, your intellectual property, your parental rights, and your individual liberties. That's what that means. And do not fucking gaslight us. I already just threatened to ban you once. We have multiple leftist groups on video saying this. Multiple fucking leftist groups are on video saying this. Do not fucking gaslight me. John tried to gaslight me when he was on my channel and say, we swear abolish the family is not in the Communist Manifesto, when abolish the family absolutely is in the Communist Manifesto. Do not fucking gaslight us. You will not be able to own homes because the state will own all the homes. They will assign who lives where. You will not be able to own land because that's not of use to the state. You will not be able to own a business, not even a small business, because the state controls the production. The state decides what is produced and what is not produced. You will not own intellectual property because they do not believe in it. Why would you even need to own intellectual property anyway? You will not be able to own an apartment rental that you rent out as a landlord because that would be private property ownership, and they don't believe landlords should exist. They believe the state should be distributing all the property. You will not be able to have parental rights because that would make children a form of private property, and they want all children to be raised by the state. They want the children to be going to the mandatory government schools. There will be no private schools. There will be no home schools. There will be universal health care provided by the state. There will be no private doctors. There will be no private insurance. There will be no private energy companies. All your energy, all your gas, all your heat for the winter will be provided to you by the state. The state will control the food supply. The state will decide what you eat and when you eat. You do not have freedom of speech. You do not have freedom of religion. The state will decide what you're allowed to say and think. If you say and think things that are inconvenient for the state, you go to re-education camp. This is what this means. This is what this means. Does anyone have any questions?
Now, obviously, there's a little bit more to it than that, but that is a thumbnail sketch of a revolution. And that broad historical vision is what should inspire us in our daily work. We have to keep that in mind. That's the goal. That's what's coming. Because revolutions aren't only possible under capitalism, they're inevitable. And since the US, last I checked, it's a capitalist country, therefore, that applies to this country as well. Although obviously the American Revolution, it's going to have its own rhythms, its own characteristics. But it's this glaring contradiction that people can see between the self-evident potential for a rational society and the reality that most of us are stuck in. That it's whipsawing people's consciousness in every possible direction, from communism and yes, also to fascism. But despite all these cross currents that we're seeing, who can deny that we're beginning to see a revolutionary awakening on a mass scale. That's what's happening, and part of that process is this undermining of confidence in the institutions that have ruled this country, if not for decades, for centuries. Now, a recent poll of 18 to 19-year-olds conducted by Harvard.
Guys, Michael, I'm not trying to pick on you. When you say you don't have the ability to own anything, that is not actually descriptive. When you say to people, what socialists want is they don't want you to own anything, that doesn't mean anything. That's not descriptive. That's not actually giving people any information. People don't understand what that means. The reason that I give the full list every time I'm talking about what ending private property ownership means is that people need to understand specifically what that means. If you just say, because you're being a smartass, you will own nothing and you will be happy, no one knows what that means. I might say you will own nothing and you will be happy after I give a long list of things that you will not be allowed to own, but I never say you will own nothing and you will be happy in relation to the original question, because no one knows what that means. If people are serious about teaching this stuff, and quite frankly, if you are not serious about teaching this stuff, I don't give a flying fuck what your opinion is. If you are serious about teaching this stuff to other people, then you need to say with specificity what that means. You need to say with specificity how it is going to impact their lives and the lives of their children and their grandchildren.
It's found that confidence in public institutions continues to decline. Even the military, which had long been the most trusted of those institutions. You know, most people know someone that's in the military.
Actually,
a
RCA
sibling
just
or an
got
uncle
banned.
or
I'm not putting up with this shit
grandpa or
anymore.
whatever that's been in the military. So it tends to have pretty high confidence. But the military has seen a 10-point drop in confidence over just the last 12 months. Since 2015, so roughly in the last decade or so, they track these things. Trust in the presidency, the office of the presidency, it's fallen from 80% 10 years ago to 20% are confident in the presidency. Trust in the Supreme Court fell by 55% and is now at 24%. Trust in Wall Street is down 43%. It's at 9%. Surprise, surprise. Trust in Congress is down 34%. It's now at 12%.
Daniel, what have I said about bringing this up proactively without it being something that's brought up by the left? What have I said about this? Let me ask this another way, Daniel. Why are you even bringing up the personal property versus private property distinction? Why are we even talking about that? There's only one thing that you need to know about the personal property versus private property distinction. There's literally one thing that people need to know. That's not the question I asked, Daniel. I asked, what do I say about this? You're answering a question I didn't ask. What do I say about this distinction? Why don't we bring it up? That is the question. We never bring this up. We never talk about this for one explicit reason. Correct. I say not to bring it up. Why? That's not the question I asked. I asked why. Nope, that's not the answer. People want to know why I get frustrated when I have to say the same thing over and over and over again every single day of my life, because it seems as even though the people who come to my streams all the time, they don't learn anything. This is why. I am failing as a teacher. I am failing. Yeah, exactly. Daniel's here all the time. He doesn't know the answer to this question. Does anyone else know the answer to the question? Does anyone else know why we don't bring this up? Does anyone listen to things I say at all? When socialists talk about the distinction between personal property and private property, it is just a gaslighting technique to shut you down. That's all it is. Nope, that's not correct. The only thing that matters. Nope, no. I have never said this, Nick. This has never come out of my mouth. There is a distinction between personal property and private property. Personal property would be considered things like your phone, your computer, your clothes, your books, your stuff. But personal property doesn't matter. Because if you don't have an ability to own a home, if you don't have the ability to own land, if you don't have the ability to own an apartment rental that you rent out as a landlord, if you don't have the ability to own a private business, if you don't have the ability to own intellectual property, if you don't have parental rights, if you don't have individual liberties, then it doesn't fucking matter how many iPhones you have, and it doesn't fucking matter how many computers you have, and it doesn't fucking matter what your brand of clothes are, and it doesn't fucking matter how many books you own, and none of the rest matters. Doesn't matter how many cars you have. Doesn't matter how many pets you have. None of it fucking matters. So the reason that we do not ever acknowledge this personal property versus private property thing is because it is nothing more than a gaslight. It means nothing. It is a way for socialists to come in and say, we don't want to take your stuff. You're thinking about personal property. We just want to abolish private property. We don't mind if you keep your stuff. That's personal property. But what they don't tell you is that they still want to take away your ability to own a home. They still want to take away your ability to own land. They still want to take away your ability to own an apartment. They still want to take away your businesses. They still want to take away your intellectual property. They still want to take away your kids, and they still want to take away your individual liberties. And none of those things are defined as personal property. It is a gaslighting technique. That is why we never bring it up. And if they bring it up, we shut that shit down immediately by saying the definition of private property is your ability to own a home, your ability to own land, your ability to own a private business, your ability to own an apartment rental, your ability to own intellectual property, your parental rights, and your individual liberties. That's what we're talking about when you say private property. Don't fucking tell me for one red second that you define that as personal property, because we know you don't, because we've seen you say it on video ad nauseum over and over and over and over and over again. And we know that you're bringing up the distinction between personal property and private property to fucking gaslight us. That's why we don't bring it up. And if they bring it up, you shut that shit down immediately and you do not hesitate. And this is why I keep repeating the definition of private property over and 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 over again. This is why I ask you to define it in the chat over and over and over again. And I'm quite frankly really pissed off at the amount of people who could not define what private property was like half an hour ago. Because everyone in this chat should be able to define off the top of their head, without thinking about it, what socialists mean when they say abolish capitalism, what they mean when they say abolish private property. And if you cannot do that, then you are failing in this endeavor. Maybe you're failing because I'm a shitty teacher, but I feel like I say the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and I drill it into you guys, and it is your job to memorize it. It is your job to learn. If you are not showing up to these streams to learn, then I don't know what the fuck you're doing here. If you can't answer this question off the top of your head, then that is the first fucking thing you need to learn. And that is what needs to be taught to other people. Here is what this actually means. Not you will own nothing and you will be happy. Not they're globalists. Not they don't want borders. Not they want to get rid of the police. Not everyone's a communist. The Democrats are communists. Not any of that. That's not what people need. People need to understand specifically when they win, how will that impact you? How will that impact your kids? Does everyone understand, or do I need to repeat it again? Yes, this information is in my Substack, 19 Ways from Sunday. No, Connor, I'm not repeating it for you. You can rewind and go back. All right, let's keep going.
I don't know how it beat Wall Street, but and trust in the media, this is interesting, is down 18% and at just 10%. So only 9% of young Americans say that the country is headed generally headed in the right direction. And economic questions, unsurprisingly, are the top concern among all Americans, including the youth. Now, 41% of Americans think civil war is inevitable in the next 5 years. I don't know what they mean by civil war, but it wasn't like that a couple decades ago. And 20% of Americans think that violence is not only...
Yes, I think the answer to the far left is fascism. 100%. However, I think that most people on the dissident right are toxic, and they do more to drive people away than they do to teach people their ideas. A lot of them are just hate-filled, and they just hate other people, and I don't think that people are filled with hate are actually going to be productive. I don't think it's productive to hate entire groups of people and to spend all day online talking about how you hate entire groups of people and to constantly be bitching and complaining about how you hate all groups of people and to be toxic to anyone and to go on Twitter and say, repeal the 19th, bro. I don't think any of that's productive. So, would fascism, if it was implemented properly, be the antidote to socialism and the far left? Yup. Absolutely. Do I have any faith at all that fascism is actually going to be implemented properly? No. No, I don't. Because in many respects, the dissident right is just as bad as the conservatives. They're not serious about what they're doing. If they were serious about what they're doing, they wouldn't spend all their time hating people. They wouldn't spend all their time saying stupid shit like repeal the 19th. They wouldn't be spending their time doing any of this shit. They would actually be working to create a system that aligns with what they claim to want. So In some theory fantasy world, if the correct dictator came into power, could that be enough to squelch the revolutionary far left? Yup. Do I actually think that's going to happen? Nope. I don't. I think the very best chance that we have is that Nick Fuentes and the Grapers pulls the conservative right much further right than they are now through sheer fucking willpower. But I think everyone that works against him is part of the goddamn problem. He's the only Nick Fuentes right now is the only one out there doing anything productive. And he's doing it in a thoughtful, pragmatic, strategic way where he is literally trying to pull the entire right-leaning political establishment more right. They're going to Michigan to do something. I guess we'll learn more about what they're doing.
Likely, but necessary to get the country back on track. So, I mean, it really is incredible how quickly things are starting to unravel for the ruling class. And they have no way of reestablishing a lasting and meaningful equilibrium, because everything they do to establish political or social or economic equilibrium is this going to unbalance other aspects of this very complex equation of governing millions and ultimately billions of people under their system. Now, the Pax Romana in ancient Rome lasted for about 200 years. The American version lasted barely 30 years since the fall of the Soviet Union. And honestly, can any of you see how this thing can just keep on going another 30 years as they are? How many of you are confident in that? No, yeah. Anyway, so look, comrades, we predicted some time ago, because this weighs very heavily on people's minds. I mean, this is a pretty bleak situation that you could draw, the conclusion you could draw from this. And we predicted that all this desperation and lack of alternatives could lead to some moods of individual terrorism or neuroticism. We saw glimpses of that with Aaron Bushnell's martyrdom and now with the Trump assassination attempt. But I'm still confident that the sheer gravity of the common interests of the working class will eventually assert itself, and it's going to cut across the disorientation and all these efforts to rule us and to divide us on the basis of identity politics. So another really important part of our perspectives is the question of the labor movement. Now, there's been some really interesting developments in the last few years, from Starbucks to Amazon to the United Auto Workers and their president, Sean Fain, essentially calling for the preparation of a potential general strike for May Day 2028. And although some labor leaders and some rank and file workers have come out for Trump,
May Day 2028?
once, if he does get back into power, the reality of his policies in practice is going to be quite a different matter, especially if the inevitable next economic downturn happens to him. Last time he was able to blame COVID for what happened. It seems like so far the bourgeois have dodged that bullet. I think like 75% of bourgeois analysts last year thought we would have had a recession by now. Somehow it hasn't happened, but it's built into the system. There will be a recession, and if it doesn't hit before the elections, it's probably going to hit when Trump is president. So I think we're going to see an even bigger uptick in labor struggle. So far this year, there's been 173 labor actions at 232 different locations. That's a little bit slower of a pace than we saw last year, but it's still pretty significant. And I think we really have to highlight the strike in California against the repression of the pro-Palestinian.
When I say all unions are socialists, it's because this is how they recruit guys. They celebrate every time unions go in and try to fuck things up. They actively recruit, the Revolutionary Communists of America specifically actively recruit in the unions. I'm not saying that everyone in a union is a socialist, because a lot of people are forced to be in unions that they don't really want to be in order to have a job. But unions fundamentally are socialist. Unions are going to be instrumental in overthrowing the capitalist United States government. Mark my words. And people might not want to believe that, because they're part of a union and they think their union supports them. And maybe in some ways the union does support you, but people need to understand why these institutions are in place and what they're being utilized for.
Protests, which was the first overtly political strike of any real importance in a very long time. Now, given lack of time and a lot of other things I want to cover, perhaps other comrades can come in to talk about the state of the labor movement. But suffice it to say that the American working class, it's far from defeated. It hasn't been crushed in a whole series of battles, and it's still just waking up after decades of hibernation. So no matter who wins the presidency, the capitalist crisis ain't going anywhere, and the workers are going to have to band together to fight back against the bosses. So there's a lot of confusion in this country, as we all know, and I think it's going to be a little while at least before an unambiguous working class consciousness really crystallizes on a mass scale. But remember, that can crystallize very quickly once that process reaches a certain threshold. But I think it won't surprise comrades to find that 54% of Americans still identify as middle class, whatever that means.
Why doesn't this matter? Why does this make no difference at all? I don't even know why we're talking about this. Why doesn't this matter? I'll wait for an answer. Why doesn't this matter? Why does this have no relation to what I just said? Because all unions are socialist. All unions are socialist. Doesn't matter that some are more influential on other people's lives. Just because the teachers union might have more influence over the schools doesn't mean the United Auto Workers isn't socialist. In fact, the United Auto Workers have graduate students. They have a graduate student component of the United Auto Workers. Because they're fucking socialist. So it doesn't matter. They're communists. They're the same thing. Socialists and communists are the same thing. This doesn't matter.
But 31% consider themselves working class and 12% consider themselves lower class. So 31% working class, 12% lower class. That's quite a bit different than you would have gotten if you asked this question a couple of decades ago. And just 2% see themselves as upper class, and that's probably more or less accurate. But the biggest change, and I think the most interesting change in the polling is this, is that things have gone so bad now for the liberals that after decades of being able to pose as the worker-friendly lesser evil, the Democrats are now seen as the party of war, inflation, and crisis, which of course they are. But people don't see them as the natural go-to because you just have to vote for them as the lesser evil. Up until 2020, just a couple years ago, Republicans were more likely to identify as middle class than Democrats. Now, Republicans are more likely to view themselves as working or lower class. Now, again, what they mean by that, it isn't exactly clear, but that is significant. Now, as Marxists, we can't be confused as to what class is. We have to understand what class is, and we have to be able to explain it. So for scientific socialists, which class you fall into isn't just sort of a self-appraisal, and it's not merely an identity that you apply to yourself. It's a function of your relationship to the means of production. And in this world, there are those who own the means of production and they buy labor power to work those means of production. And there's those who have nothing but their ability to work for sale. So they got to sell their ability to work for a wage or a salary if they want to survive.
Let me ask this. If I put together an online program that was more expansive than my How to Speak Socialist program, one where we actually use, like, I'm going to finish the re-education guidebook that I'm working on my Substack. I'm going to make that into like a physical fucking book that people can buy, like a study guide or something like that. And we take that re-education book and we actually build, I shouldn't say we. So Hang on, let me show what I'm talking about. Right now, on my Substack, I'm working on building out this re-education series. I'm not asking if you would buy it, Leonard. I'm like, let me finish the question. If you go to the Woke 101 section of my Substack, right up at the top, this is the first article in my re-education series. This is the introduction. I have 7 follow-up articles. I have a couple more that need to be published. I would really like to bang out between 30 and 50 articles. And then what I'm going to do, and these are short little articles saying, here is what socialists believe about these core components. The reason it's called the re-education series is it's going back to basics as sort of an entry onboarding point for understanding the far left, all the things that you were never taught by the right, by who you were never taught by other people talking about this. When I finish this, I'm going to be publishing it into a book that you can actually physically buy, an ebook or like a physical copy or whatever. I should also probably do an audiobook, I suppose, but that might come later. What if in conjunction with this, I built out some sort of online program or class where people buy this as a study guide, and then there's like, I'm just making this up. There's like a once a week class where we go over different components of it. And maybe it's like a month-long thing and I just keep running it every single month or something like that. Here is my question. If I do all this work of creating this content, of creating the book, of building out an online class, would people here actually help me share that out and actually help me get more people involved? And please do not say yes just off the cuff. I want to actually know it because this is a lot of fucking work. I would like to get like, if I actually would do this, I want to get like, oh, it depends. Oh, it depends, Connor. Oh, does it? Okay. See, I think you're a troll is the thing. I don't think you're actually, I think you're just actually fucking around to try to disrupt things. So I'm kind of wondering why you're even here. You're the one who keeps asking beginner questions. I pointed you to this resource the other day. You don't seem to have used the resource that I pointed you towards. So are you just a fucking troll or are you serious? Should we disband you now? Have you, Connor, have you gone and looked at the re-education series? Because I pointed it to you. Okay, so then do you think it's any good? Because you seem to come in here earlier. See, the thing is, Connor, is I need to weed out people who are trolls in my audience. And you came in here earlier and you said, Carlin, can you repeat your whole spiel about private property? And is that in your Substack? And the thing of it is, Connor, if you had actually read the re-education series, the second article is literally about this. And it literally enumerates all of this. So now I'm wondering, because you just claim you've read most of them, this is like the second article. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Don't bullshit a bullshitter. Okay, so what I'm seeing, well, yeah, it should be, but it won't be. So let's move beyond that. Let's move into being actually realistic. It will not be shared in schools. Let's not fucking pretend. Hey, thanks for becoming a member of the channel. I appreciate it. Okay, so now you're a troll. Goodbye. I fucking knew that account was just fucking around. I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. Okay, so I'm not seeing positive feedback, so I guess I won't go ahead and do that idea. That's good to know. Well, yeah, that was my thought too from the very beginning, to be honest. I was like, this is not real.
Survive. So you have buyers of labor power and sellers of labor power. You have exploiters and you have exploited. And really the class struggle is nothing more than the struggle over the surplus product produced by the laboring classes. And under capitalism, this takes the form of the struggle over surplus value, which is the wealth that's generated by the workers during the labor process
You know
above
what?
and beyond what they're.
I think I'm going to call it for the day. I think I'm going to call it. I think I'm going to call it. I think that's the end of the stream. I think I'm going to call it. And this is the place I just keep coming back to, honestly. It's like, there are so many people who come in the chat now just to harass me and cause problems. There are so many people who show up and they don't take it seriously. There's so many people who like, we aren't even meeting super chat goals. The longest timeout I can give is a permanent ban. I don't give timeouts. I give permanent bans. If people are fucking around, then I don't want them here. Okay, so here's the line I'm going to put in the sand. We've got a lot of projects that we're working on, and I'm going to see some of these projects through. And if things don't start improving by the end of the year, I'm gonna have another serious thought about whether or not I quit. This is the line I'm drawing in the sand. I almost quit at the end of last year, and then I was talked out of it, and it was sworn up and down to me. People would show up, they would do what's required. Please don't quit, Carlin. Please don't quit, Carlin. Your work is too important, Carlin. Please don't quit, Carlin. Well, it's now almost September. And things now seem to be exactly where they were at the end of last year, when I was like, what the fuck am I even doing? So we have projects that are going on that I do want to continue, that I want to try to see through. But here's what I'm going to say. People need to start showing up. And people need to start taking it seriously. Because I can't tell you guys how many times I've tried and how many things I put out there, and I just end up dealing with more and more and more and more and more and more and more bullshit all the time. You should keep doing what you do. The haters want you to stop. Well, no, it's not a matter of the haters wanting me to stop. If it was just a matter of the haters wanting me to stop, that would be one thing. It's a matter of the haters being annoying every fucking day, and I can't get serious people to show up. I can't get people to take this seriously. If I could get people to take it seriously, the haters wouldn't even bother me at all. But I can't get people to take this seriously. People that have been watching my stuff for years, literally years, still don't know the answers to basic questions. People are treating this like a game. If you want to treat it as like a game, that's fine. See, now we just met the super chat goal. See, but I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to fucking say, I'm going to quit, motherfuckers, in order for people to show up. I'm so sick of having to do this. Yeah, they're never going to learn that, though. They're never going to learn that. It's like when players beg me to run a D&D campaign and I make the world and the characters, etc., and then half of them don't show up and the other half bring... Yeah, see, it's exactly the same thing. It's like, I say, okay, I will put all this work into doing something. Will you guys just show up? Can you please just show up? Because if I'm going to do all this work, I need you to show up. I'm going to show up for you if you show up for me. And then I do all this fucking work and then they don't show up. It's like when you're put in a group project in school where you're like, oh, great, I'm in another group project. I'm going to have to do all the fucking research. I'm going to have to write the whole fucking paper because no one else is going to do it and no one else takes this seriously. Well, again, it is not as much about the haters and the people who are being ridiculous as it is the people who claim to take this seriously but don't show up. That's what it's about. I appreciate the super chat. I appreciate you, Grandma. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Kazmar. I appreciate you. I know you haven't been around that long. And I'm trying to make it easier for people, but it's also just like, I mean, people have been saying this for years, though. I'm sure it's discouraging, but I think you're on the edge of your work blowing up in a good way. I don't think I am. I don't think I am. I don't think they will ever allow that to happen. I don't think it will ever be allowed to happen. I would love for it to blow up in a good way. I would love to find out there are people that are way more serious about this than I ever thought. But I spend half my streams dealing with people who are just causing chaos at this point, and it's like, what is even the point? Why am I even doing this? Like, what is even, why? You know? Why do I think people come here to fuck with me? I think there is one specific person that keeps coming here to fuck with me that's from big tech's community. I think other people that come here are just stupid conservatives who don't want to listen, and they think they come in thinking they know everything and they know nothing and they don't want to listen. And this is why I don't do these shows. People like, I mean, we've talked about this before, but it's like people like, Carlin, why don't you go on all these shows to get more people in your audience? I'm like, do you know what happens when I go on shows? I get a whole bunch of retards who show up who think they know everything and just cause problems, and maybe I might get one or two new people out of it, but it's just like the headache that it causes with people who show up and they think they know everything and they just end up causing we literally spend half the time like for months now, we've been spending half the time in the chats just dealing with the fucking retards. But I know exactly who one of those retards is, and he comes from Big Tech's audience. I know exactly who he is. And I'm not saying it's Big Tech's fault, because I don't think it is. I think Big Tech has asked him to stop several fucking times, and he just keeps fucking going because he is a fucking retard. And maybe if Big Tech threatened to ban Marty Crabpipe from his fucking chat, if he didn't cut the shit, maybe this would stop. I know I would, if my chat was going over and constantly haranguing Big Tech and making new accounts and fucking with him and causing fucking problems, and I knew who it was, I know I would threaten to ban them in my chat. In fact, I have done that. When I found out that people were making accounts and trying to get into his Discord, I did put a fucking stop to that. Big Tech doesn't seem to want to do the same. He just wants to say it's not my fault, and it is not his fault. I have to give him credit for that. But you know what? When his people are showing up over and over and over again and creating new accounts every fucking day, and it's so obvious that it's the same fucking person over and over and over and over and over again, and literally all Big Tech would have to do to get him to cut the shit is say, I'm gonna fucking ban you from my chat if you don't cut the fucking shit, because now you're causing problems for me. He doesn't do it. Whatever. I know more about this. I know that. That doesn't mean my work is going to blow up. They're never going to allow it. They're never going to allow it. I am shadow banned on YouTube. I ain't ever getting no Rumble contract. That's never going to happen. That is absolutely never going to happen. That means my work will constantly be pushed down there. I don't have an army of people like Nick Fuentes has with the Groypers. I literally have I have written a book. There's a link in the video that you're watching. Do you know who refused to promote the book? Conservative fucking influencers refused to promote the book. I'm literally working on another book right now. I literally have a Substack that you can read every fucking day. See, this is part of the problem, guys. It's like I spend like half my life writing things. I list all the links. I talk about them all the time. And then people show up, why don't you write a book, Carlin? Oh, gee, why didn't I fucking think of that? Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that? When I make clips, people don't watch them. When I literally, god damn it, like I cannot even get over how fucking stupid this is. What do you think this is? What do you think the re-education series is? These are literally short bursts of information. Have you read them? Have you looked at them? I've been talking about them for weeks. This is part of the problem. This is part of the fucking problem. Is I do all this stuff already and people don't use it. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. Well, I guess you're excused then if this is only your second stream and you're great. I mean, I have to give I have to give Grapers credit that show up. I really do. I have to give the Grapers credit who show up. Really. Okay, you no longer get credit. Do you know there's an entire clip account on X? Do you know that I have an entire highlight reel full of clips on X? Do you know I've done all that? Too much drama, too much drama. Maybe if you came in and asked, you know what, you're getting a fucking timeout. Like, I don't even give a fuck if you come back or not. All right, I'm going to cut it there. Maybe I'm going to do a stream later on Rumble. Maybe I won't. It really depends on how I feel. It depends on what time Nick's show gets done. But I'm going to go write some more stuff that no one's going to read. So that's what I'm going to do. Thank you to everyone who does come out and try. I appreciate the people who come out and try. I'm sorry that I've been in this mood lately, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Fascist New World over on Rumble says, you have only just woken up to the final red pill. No, I didn't just wake up. I woke up fucking months ago. And this is another thing I'm saying. Carlin, you just woke up. No, I fucking didn't. I didn't find out about that until 2 or 3 years ago. Don't worry about Marty. He's stupid. Well, you can say don't worry about Marty, but Marty every fucking day, and this has been going on for fucking weeks. Every fucking day, Marty is in my chat with like 3 or 4 new fucking accounts that he's just using to cause problems. Every fucking day. And if Marty wants to keep this shit up, tell Big Tech I'm putting the videos back up. Because if Marty is going to keep this shit up, I'm going to, like all fucking bets are off. All fucking deals are off. I am not dealing with this level of bullshit. There were at least 3 accounts today that were absolutely Marty. There may have even been more. I am so fucking sick of it. Anyway, that's all. I'm done. All right.